back from the dead.
So what's good guys, Adnan here, and just keeping all of the hype coming from the newer much powerful devices away, let's check out how a 2-year-old smartphone stacks up against the competition in 2016. This is the OnePlus One, 2 years later. The OnePlus One was released with the promising title of the flagship killer way back in 2014, and it was remarked as the most polarizing phones to ever shake the industry. The moment you hold it in your hands, you will be blown away by the insane engineering and attention to detail. Taking a look on the outside of the phone, you can make out that this is a pretty big phone for hands of an average size, but thanks to the button placement, it is nowhere near impossible to use in one hand. The power and volume rockers have a good tactile feel when pressed and also blend in with the overall design. Down below, there is the good old micro USB port and the stereo speakers, which I'll talk about in a bit. Up top, there's a trusty 3.5mm headphone jack, which is a rarity to see in smartphones today. Possibly the most talked about feature of this device might very well be the sandstone backing, which is one of a kind, or at least was. This device is so creepy to the touch that in my 1.5 years of usage, I never felt the need to slap on a case, even though I most definitely risked its protection. Anyways, coming to the front panel, what has excited me the most is the unique floating screen architecture, which was one of a kind for a smartphone and probably ever will be. The sweet magnesium ring all around the body also adds to the premium touch for a phone that doesn't hold a premium tag at all. Lastly, in the build department, I found the OnePlus One's curved back design to be actually ergonomic with long hours of use or gaming. Now, what truly differentiated the OnePlus One from the crowd was the beastly specs it held at that time. Obviously 2 years in, and no one would give a damn about these specifications, but do you really need the best specs for the best performance? I doubt it. The Snapdragon 801, powered by the Adreno 330 GPU and coupled with 3GB of RAM, you pretty much can't go wrong with these specs. All of these relatively good specs achieve a blazing fast and smooth user experience. More on that later. While there are phones being released with the kind of RAM that even your PC doesn't have, I find that 3GB of RAM in a smartphone is more than what you need. Flying through applications, multitasking on the go, all without any noticeable lag, what else would you ask for? The Adreno 330 GPU, while being relatively old, still manages to easily push out the best graphical games without a hunch. And my only issue was the Snapdragon processor overheating, but hey, the smartphone also adds up as a frying pan on the go, so why complain? Coming to the battery, the OnePlus One has a pretty big 3100 mAh battery, which even today is quite bigger than the flagships out there. The battery lasts me a day no problem, and even on high usage, getting just above 3 hours of screen on time isn't bad at all. The OnePlus One also has a great standby time, so if you forget your device for a day or two, it wouldn't really matter much. The OnePlus One is one of those rare devices that have an actual stereo speaker system. I gotta say, this device is certainly as loud as a smartphone could ever get and stacks up right up next to the HTC's now gone boom sound. The front earpiece is quite loud as well, although there's some distortion while you crank it all the way up. The last part in the hardware department are the cameras. The OnePlus One sure doesn't let you down with either of its cameras. The primary rear shooter is a 13-megapixel camera, which is surprisingly quite great to snap quick photos. Even though the OnePlus One lacks OIS, it clearly makes it up thanks to the amazing HDR and higher ISO. There is also a dual LED flash, but let's face it, who uses a flash on a smartphone anyway? The 13-megapixel shooter can record up to 4K video and also slow motion up to 128 FPS, although I found that it hurts the quality by a significant amount. The front-facing 5-megapixel shooter is a really great camera for quick selfies, and while I'm not the kind of a guy to update my Snapchat and Instagram feeds by my hideous face every single day, I found myself looking at the camera and appreciating the respectable quality you can get out of it. But the only part I hate about the One's camera is most definitely in the low light scenario. The OnePlus One just can't do you any good in dark areas, even if you crank up the ISO. But all in all, a good camera which could have been good in some areas. The last subject to talk about this beast is the only factor that still keeps it alive, its software. While the OnePlus One lives by its software, it has had many hiccups, resulting in a pretty confusing software update mechanism. The phone was released with CyanogenMod 11S, based off of KitKat, and then was discontinued as a Cyanogen product, and this event gave birth to the now popular Oxygen OS. While OnePlus updated the One to only the Lollipop version of Oxygen OS, Cyanogen came up with two new significant updates over the years, namely Cyanogen OS 12 and Cyanogen OS 13. While you'd find the latter version installed on about 90% of the OnePlus Ones, what's the best factor about this phone is the fact that there are an endless development choices to live by. Earlier this year, the OnePlus One became a legendary device, which is extremely hard to satisfy in the Android realm, but it did, and it still does so with a crown on top of its head. Me being the curious self I am, I couldn't resist tweaking it to its full potential, so I am running CyanogenMod 13, which isn't all that much different from the stock versions. But even after 2 years, I gotta say, you just cannot make out that this device is any old. It flies through Android Marshmallow, it jumps through applications while multitasking, and it overall performs stupid fast. If there was anything more to say about the software, I'd put a bet down saying that no other device performs this quick while being a fair bit of old. Obviously, with CyanogenMod come a ton of options and mods, including the oh so popular switching between hardware and on-screen buttons thingy. There's the ability to change the layout of the quick tiles, tweak your screen for best optimal usage, and much more. I swear, if I start talking about the software, the review will end up being a 20-minute long boast compilation of the OnePlus One. Alright, there you have my review of the OnePlus One. I do own the OnePlus 2, and if I ever got the chance to pick between the both, I'd go with my beautiful OnePlus One. While the latest flagship that the company has to offer is too good to be comparable to this 2-year-old chunk of hardware, I'd not be surprised to see the OnePlus One compete with the 3. Finally, you can grab the OnePlus One for as low as $250. I know that I've been a lot partial with this review, but do I suggest you get this device now in 2016? Absolutely not. This is already a 2-year-old device, and who knows how far it's going to be supported. Moreover, there are better options in the market as of now. Take the very example of the OnePlus 3. But if you just need a cheap phone that works truly remarkably, then I'd go with the One hands down. Well guys, that's been it for an awesome throwback at an awesome device. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next episode.